Have you ever picked up a bag of frozen peas from the store and wondered if they're really as good for you as the fresh ones? Or if all that time in the cold does something strange to them? Many people grab those bags thinking they're a quick, healthy option, but there's more to the story than meets the eye. Let's take a step back and think about how this all started, back when freezing food was a new idea that changed everything in the kitchen. Picture this. In the early 1900s, a man named Clarence Birdseye was out in the cold wilderness and noticed how fish froze fast in the icy air, staying fresh when thawed. He figured out a way to do the same with vegetables, freezing them quickly to keep their look and goodness locked in. Before that, people only ate what grew in their gardens or what they could buy fresh at markets, and that meant sticking to what was in season. Spring brought peas, summer had corn, and winter was all about root veggies that could last. But once freezing caught on, especially after World War II when home freezers became common, everything shifted. Families could have any vegetable any time of year, no matter where they lived. It felt like a big win for busy parents in the 1950s, who could pull out a bag and have dinner ready without worrying about things going bad. However, this also sparked questions that stick around today. Was this frozen stuff really the same as picking something right from the ground? And as more people filled their freezers, it changed how we see food, from something tied to nature to something always ready and waiting. So, with that background in mind, let's look closer at what freezing does to the good stuff inside vegetables, like vitamins and minerals. First off, a lot of folks assume that freezing zaps away all the nutrients, making frozen veggies less healthy than fresh ones. But research paints a different picture, and it's not as straightforward as you might think. See, when vegetables are picked and frozen right away, they often hold on to their vitamins better than fresh produce that sits around for days or weeks getting to the store. For example, fresh spinach can lose a bunch of its vitamin C just hanging out at room temperature, but the frozen kind keeps most of it for months. That's because freezing stops the natural breakdown that happens over time. On the other hand, not everything stays perfect. Things like vitamin C and some B vitamins, which mix well with water, can slip away during the quick boil, called blanching, that happens before freezing to kill off germs. Minerals and fiber, though, stick around pretty much unchanged. So, for families trying to get kids to eat their greens, especially in winter when fresh options are slim, frozen veggies can actually provide steady nutrition. Back in the day, ads tried to convince shoppers that these bags were just like garden fresh, with bright colors and all. But the truth is a mix. Some nutrients stay strong, others weaken a bit. It makes you think twice about what healthy really means. Is it about perfect freshness or about getting reliable goodness on your plate? And that leads us to another big thing people notice right away, the way frozen veggies feel when you eat them. You know that moment when you cook up some frozen broccoli and it comes out soft instead of crunchy? That's a common complaint, and it comes from how freezing works. When veggies freeze, ice crystals form inside their cells, and those crystals poke holes in the walls that keep things firm. Then, when you thaw and heat them, the structure gives way, leaving them limp or even mushy. It's not the same for every vegetable. Peas and corn tend to hold up okay, staying a bit snappy, while things like green beans or carrots can get rubbery. For people who grew up eating straight from the garden, this was a real letdown at first. They missed that crisp bite that screams fresh. But over time, families got used to it, tweaking recipes to make it work, like adding them to soups or casseroles where texture matters less. Still, this softness is why some folks skip the frozen aisle altogether, linking it to bland school lunches or quick microwave meals. It raises a good point. Eating isn't just about fuel for your body, it's also about enjoying the crunch and feel. So, while frozen veggies save time, they ask us to give up a little on that satisfying snap. And speaking of changes, freezing didn't just affect taste and feel. It flipped the whole idea of seasons upside down. Think about how, for most of history, what you ate depended on the time of year. Winter meals were heavy on potatoes and turnips that could store well, while summer was full of fresh picks. But frozen veggies broke that rule, letting you have corn in the snow or peas when it's hot out. This was huge in places like America, where having choices all year felt like a step forward. No more waiting for the right month. The store always had what you wanted. For parents, it meant kids could eat a variety of veggies regularly, which was great for health. However, it also meant losing some of the excitement, like looking forward to the first fresh asparagus in spring. Older folks often talk about how this made food feel less special, less connected to the land and traditions. Family recipes tied to seasons started to fade as everything became available anytime. So, while the constant supply is handy, especially for busy lives, it can make meals feel a tad routine. And that convenience sometimes comes with extras you might not expect, like added stuff in the bag. Not all frozen veggies are just plain produce. Some come with salt, sauces, or even preservatives to make them taste better or last longer. The packaging might look simple, but check the label and you could find butter, cheese, or extra sodium mixed in. This started happening more in the 1970s and 80s when companies aimed to make things appealing for picky eaters or rushed cooks. What seemed like a healthy side could turn into something loaded with fat or salt, cutting into the nutrition benefits. Health pros pointed this out, saying buyers need to watch for plain options without the add-ons. It's easy to grab a bag thinking it's pure, but those hidden bits can add up, especially if you're watching your diet. This ties into trust. When the box says fresh from the farm, but it's more like a dressed-up snack, it leaves people unsure. Luckily, there are plenty of basic no-frills choices now, but it pays to read the fine print. And even with plain ones, there's another hitch that can ruin a good bag, that frosty buildup called freezer burn. You've probably seen it, those white, icy spots on veggies that make them dry and tough. Freezer burn happens when air sneaks in and pulls out moisture, leaving the food bland and chewy. It doesn't make it unsafe to eat, but who wants peas that taste like cardboard? This was a big annoyance for families stocking up, turning a reliable stash into waste. Nutrients mostly stay put, but the flavor and feel go downhill fast. To avoid it, seal bags tight, keep your freezer cold enough, and use things before too long. But in real life, with power outs or forgotten items, it happens anyway. It's why some people think frozen stuff is always second best, even if science says otherwise. Freezer burn isn't just a small problem. It's a reminder that even handy tools like freezers have limits. Yet for all these downsides, the upsides often win out, especially when it comes to money and ease. On a tight budget, frozen veggies are a smart pick because they last longer without spoiling, so you throw less away. Back in the mid-1900s, when shopping wasn't as easy, this meant families could buy in bulk and stretch their dollars. A bag of corn or spinach costs less per serving than fresh, especially out of season. Plus, they're already washed and cut, saving you prep time. As more moms started working in the 60s and 70s, this quickness became key. Boil or steam in minutes, and dinner's done. Critics say it led to lazy cooking, but really it helped people keep up with life. No more racing against spoilage, just grab and go. Today, that same appeal keeps them popular for anyone juggling work, kids, or whatever. So while they might not wow like fresh from the market, they make healthy eating doable without breaking the bank. And that brings us to the big face-off. How do frozen stack up against fresh in terms of actual health value? It's a debate that's gone on forever, and there's no clear winner because it depends on the situation. Fresh veggies, eaten right after picking, are top-notch, full of life, with that perfect taste and crunch. But in the real world, most fresh stuff travels far, losing vitamins along the way. By the time it's on your shelf, it might not be as nutritious as a frozen version that was processed hours after harvest. Take spinach again. Studies show frozen can have more vitamin C than fresh that's been chilling in the fridge for a week. However, blanching does knock out some sensitive bits in frozen ones. If you live near a farm or grow your own, fresh is hard to beat. But for city folks relying on stores, frozen often wins on consistency. It's not about one being better overall, it's about what gets to your table in the best shape. Families weigh this every shopping trip, balancing ideals with what's practical. And safety plays into that too, since freezing helps there in some ways. Freezing slows down bad bacteria, making veggies last without going off quickly. It's like putting germs on pause, which was a relief for folks in times when food could spoil fast. But it's not foolproof. If there's dirt or bugs from the farm, freezing won't wipe them out completely. Rare outbreaks show that thawing can wake things up, so proper handling matters. At home, keep your freezer at 0 degrees Fahrenheit and don't let stuff thaw and refreeze. Power cuts can turn a whole load unsafe, which is a hassle. Overall, though, frozen veggies are pretty safe compared to fresh that might sit out longer. It builds on a chain of care from field to freezer, and as long as that's solid, you can trust it more. But like everything, a little caution goes a long way. Now, let's not forget the bigger picture, how all this affects the environment. Keeping things frozen takes a lot of energy, from quick harvesting to factory chilling, then trucks hauling them cold to stores. That means using power, which can add to pollution if it's from dirty sources. Some say this makes frozen veggies less green than local fresh ones. But wait, there's a flip side. Frozen cuts down on waste big time. Fresh produce often gets tossed because it goes bad fast, while frozen lasts ages. So, is the energy for freezing worse than growing extra food that ends up in the trash? Experts split on this, but for many, the waste reduction tips the scale. It shows how our food choices connect to the planet, and frozen veggies sit right in the middle, helpful for less spoilage but needy on resources. As we think about climate stuff more, this debate keeps growing, and all these points tie into how frozen veggies change daily life for families over the years. Before freezers, prepping veggies took hours, picking, cleaning, cooking before they spoiled. Frozen ones slash that time, letting people focus elsewhere. In the 60s and 70s, with more parents working, this was huge. Meals got simpler. Pop a bag in the pot, add to a dish, done. Shopping shifted too. Buy big, store long, feel secure. Older people recall how it eased tough times, like when money was short. Sure, some traditions faded, like slow-cooked seasonal recipes, but it opened doors for new habits. Frozen veggies weren't just food, they were part of adapting to faster lives, more jobs, less time at home. Even now, they help keep things balanced. So, wrapping this up, frozen vegetables have come a long way from that early discovery to being a kitchen must-have. They give affordable nutrition, cut waste, and fit busy days. But they come with softer textures, possible add-ons, and questions about full freshness. Science shows they're often as good or better than traveled fresh produce, yet the debate rolls on. In the end, it's about what works for you. Health, taste, budget, all mixed. Frozen veggies show how tech helps us eat better while reminding us of nature's ways. If you found this helpful, give the video a like and hit subscribe for more on everyday food truths. Thanks for watching.